Magic the Gathering, as you know it, is dead, or if it's not dead yet, it is certainly about to die come 2025. Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and yeah, it's been a while since we talked about Magic the Gathering and Dungeons & Dragons, because there's been so much else going on in nerd news, but you know that I'm a diehard fan of the game, despite loathing Wizards of the Coast. Well now, look at this. Hasbro CEO wants 2 Lord of the Rings size sets of Magic cards every year. I'm gonna go into why this is a bad thing, and I get it, some of you might love the crossovers, that's fair enough. There's been some crossovers I've been partial to, but I want you to hold on for a sec and hear me out. Before you do, hit that subscribe button. I'm a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day. Not always about Magic the Gathering, but you know what? Sometimes you gotta go back to your roots and just talk about things that absolutely rub you the wrong way. Magic the Gathering fans should expect more and bigger Universes Beyond sets in the future, following the success of the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. CEO Chris Cox told investors Tuesday morning that the game and toy manufacturer expects 2 equivalently sized sets to launch every calendar year beginning in 2025. Now, if you guys are unaware how many sets are released for Magic the Gathering every year, 3 to 4 main sets, 3 to 4 main core sets, and then of course there's some smaller supplemental things in between. So if at least 2, let's say they're doing 2 every year, that is half, if not more than half, every year of Magic the Gathering will now be IP based. Will be based on things that don't fit in with Magic the Gathering. So how can you even call it Magic anymore if 2 of the 4 sets or 2 of the 3 sets are going to be Final Fantasy or Fallout or Marvel or insert whatever IP comes later on down the road? How can you even call it Magic the Gathering? I get it. Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle-earth, yeah, it was incredibly successful. Actually, I believe the most successful set they've ever had. But let's be real, there's a pretty massive crossover between Lord of the Rings and Magic the Gathering fans due to the very common similar fantasy theme. I mean, Magic the Gathering is directly inspired by Lord of the Rings, so that crossover makes sense. Not one that I particularly enjoyed. In fact, I think it was one of the worst drafts, honestly, that I've ever participated in. But for a lot of people, they liked it. I get it. I won't, harp on that. I got plenty of older videos harping on it. But we're talking about the future of Magic the Gathering. Do we really want to see Magic usurped by just insert famous video game here or whatever it is? Or are you playing Magic, for the cards that fit in the Magic universe? First out of the gate will be a collaboration with Square Enix on a Final Fantasy set, and then multiple Marvel-themed sets after that. Multiple Marvel-themed sets, because just one isn't enough. I mean, first of all, if it's gonna be Marvel, you know there's gonna be some MCU influence. That's been dead for God knows how long. I mean, do we have to make sure that these fail financially to get Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro to kick it back into gear and realize that we as Magic fans and we as Magic players want to actually play Magic? We don't want to play Magic rules with basically our own homebrewed versions of characters. It truly is maddening. The Universes Beyond series is an initiative to bring outside intellectual property into the Magic product line. Sets so far have included everything from small secret lair projects like The Walking Dead and Fortnite to commander decks emblazoned with popular factions from the world of Warhammer 40k. Universes Beyond is especially good, Cox said, at bringing in new players. Is it? I mean, it might bring them in, but do they stay? Do they stick around and play? Do they keep paying for the non-IP based stuff? Do they go to the tournaments? Are they invested in Magic as a whole? Or are they only invested in the IPs that they love? Because when I did all my coverage about the Lord of the Rings stuff, do you know how many people you commented in my videos stating, yeah, I'm honestly not going to be playing Magic the Gathering, I'm just buying these as collectibles. I saw so many individuals do the same thing with the recent Doctor Who stuff, and again, the occasional crossover isn't a big deal. I for one have spoken at length how I loved the Street Fighter and Godzilla crossovers. And I mean, Godzilla makes a bit more sense. They're giant monsters. It makes a lot of sense to have these giant monsters in the game of Magic that's filled with cards that feature giant monsters. Street Fighter, that makes no damn sense, but I'm a simp for Capcom, at least the glory days of Capcom. So you know what? I suckered up and I bought it anyway. It was a nice birthday present for myself since it released literally on my birthday. But in general, I've talked ad nauseum about how I consider these crossovers negative. There's plenty of videos on my channel you can go back and look at. So when you're wanting to purchase a Magic the Gathering, when you're getting 4 sets a year and half of them are non-Magic the Gathering except for, in rules and playability only, what incentive is there for actual Magic fans to buy into these and play with these cards? Because at that point, why not just make our own game or go to any of the, I'm a massive Dragon Ball Z fan. You can tell by the shirt here, if it's showing up on camera, I'm a massive Dragon Ball Z fan. Do I want Dragon Ball Z to cross over to Magic the Gathering? No, not at all. There's a Dragon Ball card game if I wanted that. When I play Magic, Call me crazy, but I want Magic. The Lord of the Rings partnership, it turns out, was Hasbro's first attempt at using outside IP for a premier set of cards. That is, a flagship full set release designed for multiple formats of Magic. The result? More than $200 million in revenue in less than 6 months, which appears to be roughly double the benchmark set by other historically high-performing sets. But again, we're talking about Lord of the Rings. We're talking about the most, expansive and probably the most well-known, famous, and lucrative fantasy IP to ever exist. I mean, what is there that's even comparable? Maybe Dungeons and Dragons, which again was heavily inspired by Tolkien. Something else that Magic has also taken inspiration from. Magic did multiple Dungeons and Dragons crossovers, considering they're owned by the same company. So again, that one at least sort of makes sense. You're not going to have that with any of these other crossovers. What, you're going to do a Wheel of Time crossover and expect it to make the same amount of money as Lord of the Rings? No, you're not. It's not going to happen. What's better than $200 million? $400 million. Yeah, as if they're actually going to make $400 million off doing crossovers. And even if they are, let's say they are. Let's say that this does make a bunch of money. Let's say with all these crossovers they make money. Does that not matter to the integrity and the spirit of what Magic the Gathering is, and the 25 years, the 30 years of lore that's been built up throughout the cards and the books and the set releases and everything that's built the universe of Magic the Gathering? You just want to throw that all away for quick bucks to throw a Gundam on a card or Hello Kitty on a Magic card? Oh yeah, look at this, enchantment that gives you protection from white because it's got a picture of Hello Kitty on it. No actual Magic player that's going to tournaments cares about stuff like that. We care about Magic. I can only say it so many times. Here's Cox speaking to investors about the future Universes Beyond sets. The first one's going to be Fallout, which will come up in March. That's next month, by the way, I believe. We're getting the Fallout stuff next month. I'm a massive Fallout fan. I do not care. I won't be purchasing the Fallout stuff. Not only because I don't want to see crossovers of Magic the Gathering, but because I don't buy new Magic the Gathering stuff anymore. Just frankly, I don't want to give wotc the money. wotc's a terrible company. They've mishandled MTG and D&D for years now. I feel like they should be punished for it, and hopefully other real seasoned tabletop RPG and CCG players do as well. But also, back to the Marvel stuff for a moment, we've got Lorcana. Like, why would you do a partnership with Marvel, which is owned by Disney, when Disney has Lorcana, which is a literal competitor to Magic the Gathering? That, to me, also doesn't make sense on a business level, but what can I say? I don't run a multi-million-dollar conglomeration. That won't be at the same scale or size, but it will do better than what a typical Commander set would do. Starting in 2025, we're going to have 2 premier Universes Beyond sets as part of our mix, and we believe the brands that will be shipping in 2025 have the same kind of carrying power as Lord of the Rings. Alright, so I love Final Fantasy, I really do. But does Final Fantasy have the same sort of power as Lord of the Rings? Like, maybe world over it actually does, because those games are so expansive. It's a Japanese, it's a JRPG, it's a Japanese video game property that has been around for years and is loved the world over. So, like, maybe there's some intrigue there. Again, when it comes to Marvel, Marvel also might have that intrigue, but I think Marvel probably would even more so than Final Fantasy, actually. But those sorts of sets, those sorts of IPs, they're very limited. There aren't actually a lot of franchises that are just globally, the world over, beloved. I mean, maybe Star Wars, maybe Harry Potter, James Bond, I guess. I mean, at one point, that was one of the most successful movie franchises of all time. Again, I can't see how many of these sets they can really do and then actually make them all that money. I think they're hedging their bets on the popularity of IP, because we live in this nostalgia bait world nowadays where everyone is clamoring for IP because it pays to be a nerd. It's popular to be a nerd now. So they're going to take advantage of it, and it's going to be nothing but a cash grab. They don't actually care about the integrity of the game. They care about making money. And I get it. They're a business. I'm a capitalist. I'm A-okay with them making money, but not at the expense of what made them what they are and of what made me and so many others watching this video fans to begin with. The one that we've announced that will be at the front half of the year, and that's Final Fantasy, which is just a juggernaut in role-playing games. We've announced partnerships with a host of other brands, Marvel being one of the last ones that we kind of talked about. There'll be multiple sets associated with that. So for 25 going forward, you should expect to see part of our 6 premiere sets per year. Oh, okay, so they're doing 6 premiere sets per year now. So it used to be 3 or 4. Magic is already super expensive. Anyone that's in the trading card game hobby, Sphere, knows how expensive it is to keep up with these games, especially if you're playing in tournaments, if you want to keep up with the current meta. So now they're going from 3 to 4 sets a year to 6 a year, which has actually been the norm for a little while now, but many fans want them to cut that off, taper back a bit, because it is so difficult to keep up with, because it is so expensive to keep up with, with, and now they're doing 6 a year. 2 of them are going to be IP based, and that's still a third. That's still a third of their sets are going to be having nothing to do with Magic the Gathering. It'd be one thing if these were secret lair drops or commander only, but we're talking premier sets that are going to be used for modern, for standard, for booster events. That is just too damn much in my opinion. 2 of them will be Universes Beyond branded, and we think we'll have a similar uplift to what we experienced with Lord of the Rings, that underlying a lot of our bullishness on the growth for Magic. Now, I haven't talked about the whole wokeification aspect yet, because frankly, I'm a gamer first, I'm a Magic the Gathering player first, and a culture critic second, but let's talk about the woke aspect of it. What did the Lord of the Rings set do? That's right, they made Aragorn black. And why did they make Aragorn black? Because they felt like there wasn't enough diversity, there wasn't enough representation. Oh, they needed to make sure the voices were heard. So not only did they, do this completely unnecessary crossover, but they disrespected and denigrated the lore on top of it for some brownie point DEI woke inclusion points. In fact, they have cards of the Harad people who in the books are canonically dark-skinned, and they made the Harad people white. So they completely disrespected and didn't care about the lore in those either. So let's say you even are excited for these crossovers. Let's say you're like, yeah, I can't wait for these Final Fantasy cards. Well, I hope you're ready for Black Squall. That's not going to upset anybody, because we all know that is the route they're going to go. These are the same types of individuals that have been cultivating a player base of saying, hey, you can't have half races in D&D because that's a racist statement. Hey, we've got to take the word tribal off Magic the Gathering cards because tribal has racist connotations to it. Do you really think that when they do these Universes Beyond crossover, let's say you're excited, you love them, you love crossovers, you love IPs. Well, do you love to see your IPs disrespected? Because that's exactly what's going to happen. We've already seen it multiple times. I think we also saw it with the Doctor Who ones, but I can't pretend to care. I'm not a Doctor Who fan either. Of course, Tales of Middle-earth had a big gimmick working in its favor. A singular one-ring card, which once discovered in Canada, was snatched up by rapper Post Malone for $2 million. What developer Wizards of the Coast will do to make the upcoming Final Fantasy and Marvel sets just as appealing to collectors is anyone else's guess. Even more curious is how, or even if, Wizards will be asked to apply that same format to its other marquee brand, Dungeons and Dragons. Oh yeah, I bet we're going to start seeing, supplemental D&D one-shots that are IP based, as if there aren't enough tabletop RPGs out there that are already IP based. I mean, this is a full-on monopoly on nostalgia. It's a full-on cash grab monopoly. It is disgusting to anyone that grew up loving these franchises for what they were. Cox called the seminal role-playing games digital offering, D&D Beyond, an excellent platform for us to build upon. That growth could come from Universes Beyond style content or from third-party D&D content published to the platform. Content created either by major creators such as Ghostfire Gaming and Hit Point Press that Hasbro has begun partnering with or by individual users by themselves. Oh, okay, so you know what? I ain't exactly upset about that. D&D's been doing that for ages. I'm not gonna. D&D is a lot better to have third-party involvement in because it's your rules, your table. You can do whatever you want. You don't necessarily need to give WotC any money or anything to that effect to play D&D. Magic the Gathering is not like D&D though. This is a sanctioned CCG or TCG, whichever you want to call it. It's a sanctioned card game with tournaments and rules. It's literally the single most complex game in the world. That's just something that was proven by science via supercomputers. That was a very interesting little experiment when that happened. The fact of the matter is, those of us that play Magic the Gathering, we are nerds. We love other stuff. I mean, man, I'm a massive Sonic the Hedgehog fan. Look behind me and you could tell that. That does not mean I want to play play with a Knuckles card in Magic the Gathering. That's just not the sort of thing I'm into. And if you are into it, you know what? Fair enough. More power to you. But at least I hope that you have the mental wherewithal to realize they don't care about you. They're not doing this because, hey, we love you, the fans. They're doing this because they know that you're going to pay for it. You're a good little pay piggy. They will just take your money, gobble it up, and give you some half-assed attempt at what would be considered a premium Magic the Gathering event or a premium Magic the Gathering set without any care actually put into the IP, as we saw from the absolute disrespect that so many other cards have gotten. What about the Death Corona Godzilla card that was deemed offensive and problematic because, oh no, it had Corona in the name and then COVID happened, so they had to cancel that card. It'll never get reprinted. That's the sort of stuff you see from Wizards of the Coast, the sort of stuff you see from Hasbro, and that's what you're going to get with these IP-based crossovers. Bring back real Magic the Gathering. Bring back block sets. Bring back the Grand Prix tours. Give us 3 to 4 sets a year instead of bleeding us dry with 6 sets, which is absolutely insane. And stop with the cash grab nostalgia crossovers crossovers and absolutely stop with your woke DEI identity politics that you're pandering to as if there's some sort of inclusion problem in the trading card game community when there never has been. But those are just my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments down below, or let me know on X where you can find me at BoltTheWord. And please do subscribe. I am a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day. Not always about Magic the Gathering or Witches of the Coast, although it has been nice to get back to my roots, like I said. But anything from movies, music, anime, you name it. Check me out on Instagram at wordsofparadise_Leon. Also, become a member for $4.99. You can become a member. Join the Discord. Pick the certain articles that I go over and make videos about. Also, there's some merch available now. Vital Idol, the discount code. Get a shirt or a mug. Anything to rep that Words of Paradise. I would love to see it on Instagram or on Twitter. You can tag me. And remember, it's all here in the Nerdosphere. This has been Words of Paradise.